Greetings metalheads, George here from No Nonsense Metal Reviews, here today at long last with the full No Nonsense Metal review of Descent, the brand new album from Immolation. It's taken a while to get to this review, I must admit, but this album, wow, this has required quite a few listens because it's so damn good. And actually, when an album is this good, it actually makes it a little bit more challenging to give it a unbiased review. I love Immolation anyway. They are one of the masters, one of the best death metal bands around, old school death metal bands around. They absolutely crush. Can't think of a better word for it, but they absolutely crush. They're a death metal bulldozer. I love Immolation, and I have to say, I'm absolutely loving Descent as well. Damn fine album. So yes, it's taken me a little while to get to this point, but that's okay because it's a very good album, well worth sticking with, giving it plenty of subsequent listens, because it is without doubt one of those albums that just grows. It just grows on you. It seems to get better and better with subsequent listens. So Immolation are no strangers to producing top-notch, high-quality, premium old-school death metal, and they certainly have their own very unique, very easily identifiable sound. Immolation have such a unique sound, and I really do feel that that sound emanates from the duo who have been there since the beginning, Ross Dolan on bass and vocals, and Robert Vigner on guitars. More on that in a moment though. So Immolation, formed in 1988. This is album number 12. They've been at this a while. And I will also say, on record and with absolute confidence, that there is no bad Immolation album. No Immolation album can, in my opinion, my honest, humble opinion, be considered bad. In fact, no Immolation album can be considered anything less than solid. There are a few albums that I feel might be a little bit, maybe on the samey kind of wavelength, a little bit kind of, similar territory, treading similar ground there. However, even those are still enjoyable albums. I would also say that with Immolation, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get pummeling, savage death metal, old school, full of cracking riffs, full of absolutely bestial demonic vocals, but it's also going to be very consistent and it's going to be reliably good. Think of Immolation as like the Motorhead or the AC/DC of death metal. You really do know what you're going to get, and you can rely on Immolation to produce the goods. And they really have produced the goods here. They have been on a very good roll. I think certainly after Acts of God, which was released in 2022, that was a very fine album indeed. And I remember at the time when that came out thinking, I wonder how they'll do trying to top Atonement, because this album, released in 2017, I thought this was a damn fine piece of work as well. An absolute hammer blow of good old New York death. And again, before that, the first Immolation album that I actually discovered and got into, the rather grim and dark Kingdom of Conspiracy. But how are they going to top these? Well, I can say with confidence that Immolation have done it, and they have done it very well. So Descent, we've had a few lineup changes over the years. It's been a steady lineup since about 2016, if I remember correctly. So we've got Steve Shalati on drums, who is a pretty killer drummer. I think that's fair to say. Absolutely cracking drum work here. Blinding stuff. None of it just sounds generic. It's all plenty of interesting changes and little bits and pieces, fills thrown in there. They've got Alex on guitar alongside Robert Vigner, one of the main men there, on guitar, and Ross on vocals. Those elements combined, these guys produce some very unique sounding death metal. I certainly think in Ross, his bass work is fantastic. You know, it's just a constant grumble. It's not even like a rumble. It's like this growling low end. It's just dismal stuff. It just sets the most dismal vibe. Love it then. Good grumbling low end. That's what you want. And his vocals, Ross's vocals, absolutely unique. It's just pure misery. I think his vocals just make you feel miserable, but in a way, it's just perfect death metal. It's just his vocals suit the music so well. Absolutely miserable vocal approach. Great death gutturals though. Absolutely love it. The guitar work, the riffs are killer. You know, it's crushing. I love the fact that Immolation managed to stay so groovy while also being so absolutely monstrously heavy and crushing. It's absolutely stunning stuff. The album is just packed with crushing gems. We get a nice little kind of intro, well, the opening track there, These Vengeful Winds, and it builds this tension, this atmosphere before the track kicks in proper. You know, within the first sort of 10 seconds of the song after the intro, this is Immolation. Maybe even 10 seconds is too much. Maybe it's within like 5 seconds. It's just, here's Immolation. There you go. Enjoy the next 40 plus minutes of pummeling death metal. Love it. And that is a hell of a way to open the album. And it blends seamlessly into the ephemeral Curse, which again, it's a cracking track. It absolutely sounds monstrous. I did want to also point out the rather brilliant production on this album, because the whole album does sound really damn fine. So it's mixed and mastered by Zach Oren, and you know, the album just sounds really good. In fact, listening to this album and then revisiting, as I did, Acts of God, still a great album, still sounds good, but sounds miles ahead. It's only 3 years apart, but sounds miles ahead there. So it's a cracking way to kick in the album there, and it really does kick. We then got God's Last Breath. I believe that was one of the singles, and that is just an absolute beast. It's one of the most crushing moments on the album. It's monstrously heavy. Again, the riffs are merciless. The vocals are evil, and it just works. It's just Immolation. In fact, you could probably summarize this entire review, you know, in a minute by just saying, that sounds like Immolation, that sounds like Immolation, that sounds like Immolation, and I love it. Hey, it does sound like Immolation. Adversary and Attrition, a good 1-2 there. Again, pummelingly heavy. We've got some delightful grooves in there and some seriously crushing riffs. Again, the riff kind of play off with the drumming there. It's just brilliant. It's almost like those fills make it just a layer more aggressive, more brutal, and even heavier. Love it. So that's a good middle to the album then. Bend Towards the Dark is a bit of a standout for me. I particularly enjoy that one. It has some really memorably crunchy riffs there. They just come in like slabs. It's like being pummeled with tombstones. Freaking brilliant stuff though. Host, another fine moment, which again continues savagely into False Ascent, which is another great number there. Again, really strong vocals. I think Ross still sounds so damn good. He's one of the best death metal vocalists. And again, those sledgehammer riffs, those absolutely crushing drums just make it. We then get a very nice kind of interlude piece in Banished. You know, it really acts as a fine bridge, a little respite, a little breathing space, if you like, before, you know, complete with acoustics and all sorts, before Descent. The title track number 10 here, it just brings the whole thing to an ultimatum, to a grand finale. It's a longer track, not absurdly long. Immolation don't really do that on this album. It's all pretty kind of, palatable stuff in terms of no epic Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner length tracks here. No disrespect to that, of course. Epic death metal, yeah. But Descent, it just really does hammer things home. It hammers home, firstly, how damn good Immolation are, how absolutely brilliant this album is overall, and how good Immolation are at producing consistently very good, very strong, near perfect death metal, in fact. Absolutely hammering way to close the album with some of the best riffs and vocal work on the whole album. So overall, it's a monster of an album. And actually, I did just notice seeing guest vocals on Host and Descent by Dan Lilker. Legend. Brutal Truth, Nuclear Assault legend there. Hadn't actually picked that out myself, but it's an absolutely brilliant album. I think that it more than lives up to the previous sort of 3-4 albums there. As I say, some Immolation albums, some older albums, I think there's a little bit more, or maybe the Listenable Records era albums, I think some of them are quite, it sounds quite the same. Maybe not quite as attention grabbing as some of these albums do that I've shown off here. But even at their least brilliant, shall we say, Immolation is still damn good band. They're still miles further ahead than a lot of their peers. So Descent, I think this is easily a 9 out of 10 album. I would say that this is very strong old school death metal. If you're not familiar with Immolation, this is just as good a place to pick the band up as any. And actually, you can reach for any album from any era and you'll find some exquisite old school death metal. So choice tracks then, I think really for this album, you do benefit from that intro into these Vengeful Winds. It really does set the scene. I do think Bend Towards the Dark is a bit of a standout, certainly in my opinion. And then the title track, Descent. Again, you need that intro, Banished, or that kind of interlude to really get things going. But overall, a very, very good album. A 9 out of 10, and I love it. So, my friends, what are your thoughts and opinions on Immolation and Descent? Hope you've enjoyed this humble review. Please do feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. It's greatly appreciated. Until next time, my friends, do take care of yourselves. Listen to Immolation, blast Descent nice and loud, and stay freaking heavy.